We're back. We're here with George Dixon. He is a candidate for re-election to the Board of Selectmen. How many years have you served at this point, George?
9.
9 years. Yeah. So coming up for another 3.
We'll see.
We appreciate you coming on. Obviously, you have a lot of history here in town. I want to start by thanking you. I know that you took a minute of your time and held a sign in honor of Dennis Reddy, who was the creator of this show, and also my father, one of my best friends. That was really a nice tribute. My family really appreciated the, kind of the whole give back from the town, including your service. So thank you for that.
No problem. He was a good man, and the town's going to miss him. And obviously, it's going to be big shoes to fill. So.
Well. 9 years, you've accomplished quite a bit, and we figured we'd at least have you come on, talk a little bit about, some of those things. One of them that, I do want to talk about, and I brought it up on WCAP 980. We talked about it on Saturday morning with Warren Shaw. Was your help on helping the residents at Wellman on the riverbank issue. And it's important to bring up, and I'll tell you why. The residents there were really in trouble, and one of the things that I credit you with, and I know you won't credit yourself, that's why I'm bringing this up, is the fact that you're really a constituent services type person. You do reach out to people and you make the phone calls. But I want to at least talk to you a little bit about that. Tell the voters about what you were able to do and how you were able to do it.
Well, I get one of the first calls, and I did a lot of work, but I had a lot of help. I had first Jimmy Lane. When Jimmy Lane came on the board, he was a great asset with paperwork and things like that, And even like Jan Spence and Dynell, who was the head of the association down there, they attended all the meetings. We went up and down. We met with the people who had the dam, the bladder dam. And we researched everything. We were out, and then Dave McLaughlin helped a lot with this, with the conservation, through the conservation committee, and the DPW helped us do a couple things we had to do it's sad that it took this long. Just bureaucracy, but they were in big trouble, and so it was hard to say no. You couldn't say no. You know what I mean? There's people going to lose their homes. They were going to lose the development. Basically, they were within 7 feet of the river, I believe, at one time, and it would just keep going. So it just kept edging out that way. Getting closer and closer. So. Now I think they're gonna be fine, and they get it. And now that you've seen the values come back, because their values went way down.
They did.
And then they got hit with the floodplain insurance on top of that and everything else. So a lot of people basically lost their homes at that time. Or if they didn't, they were very
close. Or the equity in them.
Yeah, exactly. So that was just it was something that I was there and. But again, it wasn't just me, it was so many people. As it is most of the time in this town. You ask somebody to help, they'll get involved.
Well, I'll tell you, on major issues like that, sometimes when you're trying to deal with that many government agencies and you got to bring in state and federal and whatever else you may, Army Corps of Engineers and all the different components,
absolutely.
It becomes so overwhelming for people that they don't know how to best approach it. And it kind of goes to the bureaucracy of government, and sometimes it's so big it's hard to kind of get all the pieces working together. So, I think that's one of the things people have always appreciated about you, George, your ability to bring everybody together, at least have the conversation. Not to say that you can always get everybody to agree, but it's been.
I did not mention Paul, but Paul played a vital role in it too. Especially with Jimmy, because they understood the paperwork and how many different places it had to go and whatever. So, Paul was very instrumental in helping out as well, But yeah, that was, that's just part of the job, I guess. That's how I feel about the job. But other people, it was nice watching. I served 6 years with Matt. I was very impressed. I don't know how we let him get out of town, really. You know what I mean? But he'll be back. He'll be back someday, you know.
He will, for sure.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, I know you've been big and instrumental in the affordable housing side of things, and you've served on that board. Talk about that board and your experience with it.
Well, when we started out, we started an affordable housing committee, and they made me chairman for whatever reason, but everybody else knew more about it than I did. But I learned a tremendous amount from people like John Edward, and, Paul Haverty, Evan Belansky, and as we went on, we found an easier way to get, and Dave Hedison and Connie Dunning from the Housing Authority, and Deb Taverna, and Sue Carter. So, you know, we had tremendous amount of meetings, and every time we had a meeting, I learned something different. And I think we did a pretty good job. We attained the 10%, and I don't think we had a real bad impact on the schools or anything like that, because we kept everything around 2 bedrooms, 1 and 2 bedrooms. Now, the state is changing it where you have to have a certain percentage of 3 bedrooms now. But anyway, we can protect ourselves against any predatory developers now, which will be big in this West Campus situation. I mean, it's our only shot of developing that ourselves. If otherwise, if we never could have afforded to even be involved, or even have a chance if we hadn't attained the 10%. Now we're the only people that can change the zoning.
So what's your vision there? Some sort of senior housing or something that would help seniors in general?
Yeah, I think, you know, you have a lot of 55 and over in that area right now. And I think some of the people there would even like to downsize into smaller units. And I think David came up with a couple of plans that were very good. Some of the people who were on that committee went out to see other developments similar, and they liked David's plan, and they saw, you know, there was one in Pittsfield, I think there was one in Framingham or Natick, and one down in the South Shore, and something where you have almost maybe a three-phase living, and some of it was just, some you would just buy for a certain amount of time, and then you would, when you get out, somebody else would buy your equity out, right? So, but I mean, I think that's, again, no impact on anything but maybe a little bit on the public safety with the fire and the police. Nothing on the schools, you know. So I think it's a great area there too. It's
well, talking with like David Hedison and, you know, some of the senior housing type people, they, you know, there's a wait list for that kind of,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
facility
Ooh.
at this point. And you know, I had clients that I've sold their property that were looking to get
Sure.
into affordable housing, and I know they were able to land behind the senior center, but I think it took them maybe 6-7 years,
Yeah.
you know, on a waiting list
Yeah.
before they finally were able to get in there. And
Right. You still got a waiting list of 5 or 6 years. Even in the affordable housing, they can go on forever. I mean, it's never ending. I mean, that's so. But the affordable, even at the elderly, is probably a 5 or 6 year wait. So, you know, it's sad, but it's just the way it is.
well, you've been a big champion of various causes. One of the biggest is the Paul Center,
Yeah.
and we appreciate that. Talk a little bit about, you know, what made you get involved with the Paul Center. And
Well, I don't like. Well, first I was on the Boys and Girls Club in Lowell for 10 years, but then I went out to the Paul Center one day with somebody that's on the board. I think it might have been John Chamley or somebody like that, right? And they were on the board at the time. And boy, I saw some of the kids, and you know, you try to talk to them and they wouldn't speak to you, and then all of a sudden they'd come over to you, and then they grab you by the hand, they take you for a walk around the park, you know, around the campus. I mean, you get really attached to them, you know, and people and the parents, you know, meeting the parents and seeing what, you know, the work the parents put in. It's, you know, to me, that was a great cause to get involved with. And I'm very happy and very proud of it. In the last 15 years I've been with them. And, you know, we try to do as much as we can do for them. But there's a lot of good people working out there, and volunteering, and there's a lot of people that donate money and things like that. So again, the town is a great town for that type of situation. So it was just something that struck me.
Well, you're putting in a bid for another 3 years. Is there anything in particular you're looking to accomplish in this next 3 years?
Joe, I think in all three debates, my biggest thing is I would like to see, for example, tomorrow's an election, right? And we'll probably get 10 to 12% turnout. And I think that's a shame. I really think it's a terrible, terrible shame. I'd love to see it be 35, 40%, like on a normal day. You know what I mean? Now, tomorrow, it's very possible we'll get a little bigger turnout. There's a few issues that are a little bit contentious, you know? But whatever it is, it's good that people get out and voice their opinion. That's what America's all about, right? So I would love to see the younger stakeholders get involved. With a lot of families with kids in school and new homeowners, and just get involved on a committee and learn. I'd like to see it start really at the high school, see the kids take more courses in local government or government, period, so they understand what's going on. And maybe come out, and like they used to have a government day, and I think your father was one of the first people that started it. They'd even go either to the State House or they'd do it in the town hall, you know. Somebody would be working with the manager for the day, or the Board of Selectmen for the day, or the town clerk's office, and they kind of see what actually goes on. And when they hear when their mothers and fathers talking about, local things happening in town, they'd have an idea what they were referring to. But I mean, you just can't get enough people involved in the town, to me, and that would make it an even better town. We have a great town, and I think we could really. We've always been a great town. I mean. And I would like to say one thing. That is what I'd like to accomplish. I've said it, and you have to start with the youth groups, I think, and get all the coaches and the people, the executives and whatever, and get them together and get them, mix them up with the PTO people, everybody that's involved with the youth, and even older people. I think I was at the Republican debate, which was a great debate, and the ladies. The people that ran the debate were great. But I said, look at the average age. It was like, probably was 65, 70 probably. And I wasn't being a wise guy. I mean, that's my age, right? So, but I mean, it'd be a lot better if it was like 30 to 35, 25, 35, 40. And now you get people that are going to be around for a while, and they can help. I mean, and they're attuned to what's going on in the world out there. I mean, some of us are just dinosaurs,
Well, one of the things that you do is you appoint people to committees, right, that serve here on the town, and if people are interested, should they reach out to you?
Well, absolutely, I love it. I mean, we had one case. I think we were trying to fill a situation on the planning board about 3 years ago, and we had 3 great applicants. And you know how it goes. I mean, somebody had an inside spot because they were the first one to jump at it, and they went around and, can I get your vote? It was to fill an open spot on the planning board. So, but 2 great people came in and applied, and they were disappointed they didn't get the job. So I called them both. I said, look, that's the game. I mean, unfortunately, it's the way it happens.
That's life.
But do yourself a favor, and do us a big favor. Please stay involved in the town. I will, I promise I will help you find something that like Jimmy Clancy is now, he was one of them. Jimmy Clancy's now he's the head of the finance committee. All right, and the other fellow was Chris DeMuller, who's an engineer, and now he's doing a great job on the conservation committee. And that's what I like to see is people, they just, I mean, they can only give that first position out to one person who had been on the committee, had been on the planning board prior, and they just got reappointed, so they had the experience and what have you. But the other people are a big part of the town right now. I mean, what's bigger than being head of the finance committee? Or running the engineers for the conservation. The engineering, helping out the conservation agent, right? So it just that's the type of thing. Once you see somebody that's got some ability, you just don't let them. You find a place to put them because we can always use good people. So.
Now, you've served as chairman of the board several times. If you're reelected, do you think you'd give it one more go at being chairman of the board?
I mean, there's other people that deserve it that haven't had a chance to do it. I've done it 3 times. I mean, I would help as much as I possibly could. I enjoy being chairman, but I mean, it's just one vote like everybody else, and I think everybody deserves a shot at it, But so no, I mean, would I take it if the rest of the board wanted me to take it? Absolutely, but I wouldn't. I'm not looking for it. You know what I mean?
Well,
just happy to do my part.
You've been a big supporter of the schools. I know you're on the Chelmsford Alumni Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. Is it because of your involvement in sports when you were a kid? What drives you to be a proponent of CHS?
Well, I grew up in a neighborhood. I grew up in an era when, of course, my dad was very active too in sports and things like that. And I always took a lot of pride because I had older kids in the neighborhood who played ball, and their fathers would take me along and let me go to the games with them. I think I've been going to Chelmsford High football since I was like 6 years old. And so I always had a lot of pride in it. But, my family's lived here for 125 years. So, and my dad did a lot for kids. And it was long before I was even involved. So it had nothing to, he was a World War II guy and a pretty good athlete before he went in, and as were many of his friends. And all those that were fortunate enough to come back kind of got together and they started the Pony League, which was like the only thing that could, all there was the Little League at that time. So the kids had nothing after they were 12 years old. So they started the Pony League. They went to Bonnie and they cut the bases down to half the distance between the Little League and what the regulation would be. And they like instead of 190 and 160, it became 75-foot bases. And pitcher's mound was a little shorter so the kids wouldn't hurt their arm, making a big transition from 44 feet to 60 feet. And then he also started the Brotherhood Tournament too, which is not a CYBL.
Well, we got 10 seconds. Why don't you ask the voters for the vote, George?
Well, there is an election tomorrow, and I'd be humbly asked for one of your votes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.